What's up guys, welcome to another video of the MD journey. My name is Laksh. In this video we're going to talk about how you manage your time in medical school. But before we begin, you know what time it is, hit that intro. So how do you manage your time in medical school? Don't students just spend 8-10 hours a day studying? Yeah, some do, but there's certain techniques that you can use to be really efficient with your time. In my first post on how to study, I talked about how I studied less than 5 hours every single day in medical school. You can read about my step-by-step method in the blog post, links in the description below. But the moral of the story is you don't have to be a 24/7 medical student. You can be as much or as little of a medical student as you want. It depends on how much you allow medical school to control your life. In this video, I'm going to give you tips on how to take back that control. So tip number 1, schedule your fun time first. What? I thought the common notion was that you work hard and then you play hard. I like to think of it as work and play hard. You're going to study every single day in medical school, that's kind of a given. But sometimes students forget to enjoy their day. They don't have time for their hobbies, don't have time for their friends, they don't have time to exercise. But you don't have to be that medical student. This is why I say schedule your fun first. Before you even schedule your study time, schedule in the things that you don't want to lose just because you're a medical student. For me, that was fitness, my family, and my TV shows. I didn't want to lose those just because I was a medical student. So what I did is even before I scheduled my study time, in my calendar I put in my workouts, I put in my weekly TV shows. I also blocked off time that I knew I was going to spend with my family, my fiance, my friends. So before I even scheduled in medical school, anything that I found important in my life was already scheduled in. So once my priorities were taken care of, I used those extra bits of time and I scheduled in my study time. So just because I was a medical student, I never felt like I didn't have my hobbies, obviously spent a lot of time with my loved ones. So use this technique yourself. Ask yourself before you're a medical student, what parts of your life do you want to keep and schedule them in first. Tip number 2, wake up early. Now I know after hearing that, many of you guys are ready to just click off this video, but bear with me. One of the first posts that I put on the blog was a 20-day challenge of how I was waking up at 4:30 every single day. Honestly, it was an arbitrary time. I was an early riser anyways. I would be waking up at 6:30 naturally, but I wanted to see what would happen if I would be waking up an extra hour, an extra 2 hours early every single day. The effect was just so dramatic that I couldn't ignore it. Yes, it wasn't easy to always wake up. Most of the days I wanted to go back to sleep. But once I got going, I was so productive. I was able to do a personal task, I was able to start my studying, and I just felt efficient, and it was a great way to start my day. I always like to use the term, you're beating the sun to work. Now, do you have to wake up at 4:30? Absolutely not. If your wake up time is typically like 7:30, try to wake up at 6:30 and see what you can do with those extra 60 minutes. It may just be as simple as being able to slowly go through your morning without having to feel rushed, without forgetting things at home, but that sense of peace and calm that you have is just worth it. So try it out, wake up early tomorrow, and maybe you'll be like me waking up at odd hours a year and a half later. So tip number 3, use Parkinsons Law in medical school. So we're not talking about medical Parkinson's, we're talking about the law of Parkinson's. Parkinson's Law says that work fits in the time that you allocate towards it. So in simple terms, that means that if I give one medical student 10 hours a day to study and I give another medical student 3 to 5 hours a day to study, they're both going to study, but the person that has less time is going to be the most efficient. They're going to get rid of the crap that they don't need and just focus on what works for them. The student that's going to study for 10 hours may do really well, but they're going to be stressed out, sleep deprived, often doing all-nighters, and probably get near the same results. Time put in medical school is not as important as the quality of the time that you put in. So go back to my first tip, schedule in your fun first, and then use Parkinson's Law to allocate only a certain amount of your day to studying. This will help you become more efficient and you won't be as stressed out when you have to study. Tip number 4, add in buffer times. What I mean by a buffer time is giving yourself an extra 15 to 30 minutes before starting a task and an extra 15 to 30 minutes at the very end of a task. So for example, you may be reading a syllabus chapter and tell yourself it's going to take me 1 hour to do it. You may finish in an hour, which is great, but it may also take you an hour and a half. If you didn't allocate for that extra time, everything on your to-do list from there on out is going to take longer. So these buffer times are going to be some margins of error just in case you underestimated the time required. Now if you finish on time or you finish earlier, you can use these buffer times as breaks, or you can start the next task and be done with your day much faster. So my final and fifth tip for the day is choose an end time. Just as important to schedule in your fun, to use Parkinson's Law, and to have in buffer times, you need to know the time every single day that you're done being a medical student. For me, I would typically choose 6:30 or 7. This would allow me to have an extra 3 to 4 hours to do whatever the heck I wanted. I could read, I could watch TV, I could play video games, I could go work out. Really, it's whatever you want. If you don't have an end time, you'll find yourself working more often than not, long hours into the night. So set an end time depending on your priorities, depending on what your Parkinson's time is. Some days you may have to study past your end time. That's okay. When tests and quizzes come around, it makes sense that you have to study a little bit more than you normally do. But having the structure in place prevents you from being guilty when you're done doing your work. You're no longer a med student that day. Go enjoy yourself. So hopefully you enjoyed those top 5 tips on managing your time in medical school. These are things that I use even now as a clinical student to make sure that I enjoy myself, that I'm effective with my time, and that my grades don't suffer. But as you can see, I'm not stressed out. I have time to work on many projects, including these videos and the blog. Speaking of the blog, check out the mdjourney.com, links in the description. If you want to be part of the newsletter, just subscribe and I'll send you monthly updates on new blog posts, as well as send you my free ebook on the top 10 resources for medical school. But that's it for this video. Comment below, let me know what techniques you use to manage your time. Please like and share, and definitely subscribe. Please help the channel grow. Help me get this information to as many students as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, my friends.